Back in the early 1980s, every fighter campaigning south of 140 pounds wanted a piece of Ray Mancini. Hector Camacho, Edwin Rosario, Aaron Pryor, they all called out for Mancini. But there was one fighter that he should have fought, and that was Harry Arroyo. They both fought out of Youngstown, Ohio, but Mancini was the golden child. Mancini got all the television coverage early on because of the story with his father, while Arroyo toiled in obscurity. But they both trained in the same gym, and according to Arroyo, they had the same trainer. And according to Arroyo, he would have his way with Mancini during their sparring sessions, and he believed that his mastery over Mancini during these sparring sessions made him subconsciously avoid Arroyo while they both emerged as champions in the early 1980s. So in a lot of ways, it's a head scratcher as to why in around 1984, Mancini opted to face the then unknown Livingstone Bramble in 1984, as opposed to having a big money crosstown battle with Harry Arroyo, and the winner would get, the hometown bragging rights in Youngstown. So looking back at Harry Arroyo's career, he looked to be on his way to becoming a pound-for-pound entrant in the years from 1984 to 1985. It was during this 2-year period that he looked like he might be the class of the lightweight division. Arroyo faced stiff competition early in his career. He began his career in 1980, and only 2 years later he upset an amateur standout in Joe Manley before landing a televised fight against Robin Blake in 1984. Blake was already an established contender during this time, and he was the favorite while Arroyo was the unknown. But Arroyo outboxed him. And 3 months later, he would win the IBF lightweight crown against Charlie Choo Choo Brown in a pretty tough fight. He would then have 2 more televised showcases in which he took out the highly touted Charlie White Lightning Brown and Terrence Ali. Both White Lightning Brown and Ali were not champions, and were not top contenders, but they were solid fighters. But what was impressive was the way Arroyo took him out, and that's what brought him notice to a lot of writers and fans alike. So he dissected both of these fighters with some body work and classic counterpunching, and he took them both out in exciting fashion. So he was considered, possibly a pound-for-pound entrant. But unfortunately for Arroyo, by April of 1985, he would face Jimmy Paul, who was trained by Emmanuel Stewart. He fought out of the Kronk Gym. Arroyo blamed the loss on the fact that he only had 1 week to prepare for the style of Paul, who's an orthodox fighter, and his original opponent would be a rematch with Robin Blake, who was a southpaw. So we had spent 6 weeks prepping for a southpaw and ended up fighting Jimmy Paul, who had that classic Kronk style. But when he lost that fight, that was the beginning of the end for Arroyo. 6 months later, he was destroyed by Sammy Fuentes over 10 rounds. He just got beat down over the whole course of the fight, and he did not look like the same guy at all. It looked like his confidence was gone, and he was a shot fighter mentally. But he would surprisingly languish in the sport until 1993, and he would lose against a lot of nondescript opposition. He would also become, cannon fodder for fighters like up-and-comers like Vinny Pazienza and Loreto Garza. So looking back at his career, he had those 2 great years. He had those 2 years in the spotlight where I thought he would be able to take out Ray Mancini, and it was a shame that he never got his big shot against a guy like Mancini. He would end up with a record of 40 wins, 11 losses, and 30 knockouts, but those 11 losses would come after 1985. His career is a study in how fast a fighter can fall from grace, because he was a highly touted champion with 2 defenses, and just that one fight, he was never the same. I read an interview where he stated that he became a shot fighter after the Terrence Ali fight because it was such a tough fight. That's all for this video. Please hit the subscribe button and check out the description box for my own boxing books. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.